So where does all the American taxpayer money given to Ukraine actually go? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a CBS 60-minute special on the American taxpayer money given to Ukraine and what it's being used for. Now, to date, the American taxpayer have paid Ukraine $70 billion with a B. $70 billion. Now, there are quite a few things we could spend that money on right here in America. Like, I don't know, the southern border crisis, the inflation problem happening right now. There are quite a few things. We got natural disasters, infrastructure. There are quite a few things that money could get spent on, but we have sent that over to Ukraine. And before we get into the CBS 60 Minutes clip, one thing to note, if the government shuts down here in a few days, weeks, or whatever, don't worry, because we'll still be able to give Ukraine their money. So if you're a federal employee, if you're one of the 1 million or so federal employees who may get furloughed after a government shutdown, it's okay because Ukraine will still get their money. And before I go any further, let's go ahead and get into this particular special. If you want to see it in full, it's like 13 minutes. I won't play the entire thing here. Link will always be in the description. If you are on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But first things first, here is the actual article that references what I'm talking about. What U.S. taxpayers are getting for their money in Ukraine. All right. And you see it right here. The U.S. has sent more than $70 billion worth of aid to Ukraine since Russian troops crossed its border last year. So just 1 year. All right. Now, a battle is brewing in Washington over the Biden administration's request for over $20 billion more. So you're talking about we're going to give them close to 100 billion US dollars from your own taxpayer money. If you are an American tax-paying citizen watching this, hearing the sound of my voice, we will ultimately this year give them $100 billion or very close to it. Way too much money. Now, let's get into the clips here. Again, the entire thing's like 13 minutes. Let's just get into this first clip. And this one, the caption says, 60 Minutes discovered the U.S. is financing more than weapons in Ukraine. The government is buying seeds and fertilizer for farmers, paying the salaries of 57,000 first responders, and subsidizing small businesses. Wow, they could do that same thing here in the U.S., or at least in parts of it, but they're doing it for Ukraine. Why? Seeds and farmers, like what's going on? Let's check it out.
American taxpayers are financing more than just weapons. We discovered the US government's buying seeds and fertilizer for Ukrainian farmers and covering the salaries of Ukraine's first responders.
Do you know that 70% of American firefighters are volunteer, meaning they don't get paid? Fun fact.
All 57,000 of them. That includes the team that trains this rescue dog, named Joy, to comb through the wreckage of Russian strikes looking for survivors. And the US also funds the divers, who we saw clearing unexploded ammunition from the country's rivers to make them safe again for swimming and fishing. Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the US government is subsidizing small businesses.
So like clothing stores, things of that nature, is that where they were? Like a clothing store is what we're doing? Contemporary knitwear culture, couture, signs in English, what's going on with that? Hey, whatever, whatever, that's what's going on. Now we got more. If that wasn't infuriating enough, we have more. Let's get to the next thing. And then this clip, the caption says, to the Americans who say we cannot afford to keep supporting Ukraine, Lieutenant Alexander, I cannot pronounce that last name, Shrenstrin, has a simple message. Let's check it out.
Ukraine is losing US weapons on the battlefield. But Lieutenant Shershin told us that's the only way they're losing them.
Has anything gone missing?
In my situation, in my company, in our battalion, I don't know the case like this.
Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
As the war grinds towards its third year, Ukrainians are dying in trenches, in the streets of their cities, and in their own homes. The country's fighting for its survival, bankrolled in large part by US taxpayers.
And you know what? The thing about this, I'm gonna just pause for a minute. And hey, CBS, fair use, please. Don't give me no copyright. But check it out. This war should have ended a long time ago. The war shouldn't have started. Really, this is a Slavic war between Ukrainians and Russians, which are really the same people. They all came originally from the same place, Kiev and Rus. Belarus, Ukraine, Russia is all the same, because the people that came from Kiev and Rus either went to Kiev or they went further out east into like uncharted territory to found Moscow, St. Petersburg, all that good stuff. It's all the same people. But anyway, I digress. The point is that this is being egged on by us because we want Ukraine to be part of NATO as kind of a way to box Russia in. You already have the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. They become part of NATO. Then you want to have Ukraine be part of NATO to box Russia in. It's an economic thing. It's a military thing. So Russia wants to fight them off. And then NATO also wants to weaken Russia by using Ukraine as a proxy war battleground. So where the people are dying, being killed really just for our purposes, it shouldn't even be like that. So I feel sympathy for them. But really, this is a thing that's being egged on by the West. And if the West wasn't involved, it wouldn't even be a war.
The outcome may be decided by America's willingness to keep paying.
Exactly. That's correct. But see, the way the narrator is saying that makes it seem like if we just keep paying forever and paying endless amounts of money, that eventually Ukraine will win. That's simply not going to be the case. All that's going to happen is that you're going to have more of them die until ultimately the Ukrainians stop fighting. Until they stop accepting the money and stop fighting, then it'll be over, because Russia, they're not going to be extinguished.
Some Americans say we're very sympathetic to you Ukrainians, but we're going through tough times at home and we just can't afford to keep on supporting you.
Ukrainians pay their lives. And
I'm sorry to hear that, but I mean, what's that got to do with the American taxpayer? I'm sorry to hear that you're going through what you're going through. What's that got to do with us?
I believe and I hope that their lives cost much more than money, much more than taxpayers' money.
I mean, look, I understand what you're going through, but really that's not my problem. Now, here's another one. This clip says, for the caption, it's the aid from the heart of every ordinary American person, says Tatiana Abramova, a small business owner in Ukraine. America has pumped nearly $25 billion worth of non-military aid into Ukraine's economy since the Russian invasion. So not only are we, quote unquote, helping them fight the Russian Federation, we're also just doing some nation building. Is that what's going on? It's crazy.
Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the US government is subsidizing small businesses, like Tatiana Abramova's knitwear company.
These are Ukrainian towns. That's Kiev, I recognize.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, nice you got a little company, you selling stuff that you make, but why should I, as an American taxpayer, help your business? I mean, if you're going to put gun to my head, make me pay taxes and use my money to help businesses, I'd rather it be American small business, not somewhere over in Ukraine. Again, what does that have to do with me? If you're struggling over in Ukraine, okay, I understand, but that's not my concern.
Especially in the condition of war, we have to work. We have to pay taxes.
Me too.
We have to pay wage, salary to our employees. We have to work. Don't stop.
Why does that help Ukraine win the war?
Because economy is the foundation of everything.
American officials.
If we're paying you, it's just silly. So we're paying to keep your business open, and that will somehow help you win. We're also paying for the war effort.
From USAID, the agency in charge of international development, helped Abramova find new customers overseas. In the midst of war, her company is supporting over 70 families.
We realize that it's the aid from governments, but it's the aid from the heart of every ordinary American person.
How do you feel about that?
Grateful.
Well, I'm glad you're grateful, ma'am. But at a certain point, like today, we got to cut that aid off. We need to cut that off because we can't afford it. We got trillions in debt. We cannot afford to just support your knitwear shop. I'm sorry.
Great.
In total, America's pumped nearly $25 billion of non-military aid into Ukraine's economy since the invasion began. And you can see it working at the bustling farmers market on John McCain Street in central Kyiv.
John McCain Street. Wow. I mean, that right there tells you all you got to know. It tells you everything.
People of Ukraine, this is your moment.
The late senator is revered in Ukraine because he pushed the US government to start sending arms to the country after Russia first invaded back in 2014.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure John McCain is loved over in Ukraine and hated here in America. You see how we got a different philosophy on how we're supposed to go about doing things in our respective countries. But as I close, I want to say this. I wanted to show that video or that series of videos. And again, the full 13-minute or so special will be in the description. I wanted to show that so you would just understand where your money is going, at least a little bit, because when you hear a big number like that, $70 billion, you're like, well, what are we spending the money on? Now you know that we're paying for munitions, we're paying for the so-called war effort, and also for knitwear shops, fruit stands, farmers, seeds, all of that. We're paying for that kind of stuff. Nation building, that is where our money is going. So when you see your local community with failing infrastructure, the whole Flint thing, remember the Flint water crisis, has that been fixed? I have no idea. When you see things like that going on, just take a little bit of just find peace in knowing that it's okay. We'll get to that at a certain point, but first things first, our priority is with Ukraine. And again, if the government shutdown happens, and if you're a federal employee, you'll get furloughed. You won't get paid until you can get your back pay. But Ukraine will not experience any interruption. So what could happen, as I close for real, Ukraine could get an additional $20 billion while federal workers don't get any money. Crazy, but it is what it is. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here with Ukraine and all the money we give them as American taxpayers? Are you for it? Are you against it? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I am 100% against this. I feel for the common citizen of Ukraine and what they're going through. But again, that's not my concern as an American taxpayer, okay? We have our own issues in America. I feel for Americans, like really America first. I'm an American citizen. I'm going to support America first. And I think any citizen of any country feel the same way. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.